What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 2 of the Berserker Podcast. I am your host, Heath Nation 2465. I am joined with my friend and fellow Berserker, Andy Jones.
What's going on?
And I know we got a lot on our minds in this episode. And the first thing I want to talk about is something I've been talking about on my Facebook. And that is how bad Twitter has gotten over the past few years. I hate Twitter. They need to shut down Twitter. I'm just going to say it right now. I know many people are going to be really mad at me, but Twitter just needs to go. It just needs to dissolve, basically.
All of the platforms got to go, actually, to be honest.
It was like I was saying on Facebook. It's like, Twitter, it's just basically, all it is, Andy, it's just a freaking cesspool. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's just a cesspool of hate. It's a cesspool of entitlement and all that. Like, we can keep, Facebook, we can keep it. Instagram, sure, we can keep it. Just get those influencers out of there.
Right.
Snapchat, we can keep it just as long as nobody's sending nudes to each other, right? I know. There's nothing redeeming about Twitter anymore. It's basically, what were you saying this morning when we were talking?
About what?
About, all Twitter is? Isn't it just a bunch of stuff about the virus?
Oh, yeah, I've been seeing tons of statuses and stuff about the coronavirus. Ain't nobody trying to see or hear about that shit. I'm tired of it.
It's like, if you go onto Twitter today, you're either just a celebrity that can't, that wants to get his word out even if he's not on a TV, or you're just an entitled idiot that thinks that his voice is louder than everybody else around him.
Right.
It's hard to... And you know what? Hell, I might get blasted for it. Come at me. I have a Twitter account, but I deleted Twitter off my phone. I haven't been on it in months. I just refuse to get on.
Right.
It's just, all it is, it's just basically just a cesspool of hate. And anytime you give an opinion or anything like that, people just bombard you boom, 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 boom. You know?
There's a lot of hypocrites on there.
Oh, you're talking... That's calling them hypocrites, Andy. That's kind of an understatement there, to say the least.
Yeah.
It's just, man, Twitter just needs to die. And they've been losing numbers. They have been losing people because of that, It's just useless.
Yeah.
Facebook,
I rarely get on it.
Yeah. Facebook, people talk about their memories and they share shitty memes. I love it, know. Instagram and Snapchat, they've come up with new ways for people to share their life experiences and all that, and to make it better, so to speak.
Right.
Andy, what the fuck has Twitter done within that span?
Not a damn thing.
Oh, you've added a news section. I mean, great. We want to hear about the news. What?
I don't even pay attention to the news because most of it is fake.
It's just, I just don't like Twitter anymore, I just don't understand.
I get on Twitter to see what celebrities are doing or whatever. I don't really be on it like that.
Nah. And like I said, even if you're not a celebrity, you come off as basically acting entitled, And it's just
Pretty
sad.
Much.
Sad.
Yep.
Alright, that's part 1. Anyway. Part 2 is something that you wanted to talk to me about. Something what's it called? A heart-to-heart, an eye-to-eye on something about relationships and whatnot.
Yeah, when it comes to relationships, I don't know how to really talk about it because, you know, uh, dealing with relationships can be a good thing and it can also be a bad thing.
Absolutely.
And some relationships just don't work out. It just don't. And some do. And it's just a lot of things about relationships I don't understand. And no disrespect to women, but I'm gonna bring this up. But why do women think that every man wants to be cuddled up with them 24/7? Most men want to just be free. We just want to,
explore the world.
yeah, basically. And not saying that we don't like to cuddle up, but if it's a every single time thing, that shit gets annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. Like, if you're not married to somebody, I mean, I know you don't have to be married to cuddle up and kiss and all of that stuff, but most men don't want that shit. We just want a woman, who is cool, but we don't want a woman that's, wanting to be cuddled up 24/7. I'm not no damn teddy bear.
Great analogy.
So, I'm just saying.
I mean, I totally get what you're saying. It's a touchy subject. Haven't been in a relationship for years now, but I know the ins and outs. I've seen things happen, to be able to tell a story. But
Right.
the thing I feel like the problem I have with certain relationships is that people get desperate, and I'm going to bring up an example here real quick.
Okay.
But I feel like a lot of the times their judgment is so clouded that they basically have to go to the point where they're starting to date like these bad people, these people that get busted for like DUIs, criminals basically. It's like
Basically thugs.
People that either get in trouble or they don't necessarily get in trouble, but their actions just make themselves come off as that type of person,
Right.
And I feel like that's a lot. We've just talked about social media. I feel like a lot of that, our generation is vulnerable than it was back in the 90s.
Right.
Because I always bring this up, bullying, for instance. Bullying has gotten worse because of social media and all that. Back in the day,
Oh, yeah.
you got your ass beat, and then you went home to people that actually cared about you, as
Right.
opposed to people talking about you 24/7. But
Right.
nowadays, with all this stuff around, when it comes to relationships, it's like people want to stay connected, but the problem with that is that there are people that also need time to themselves,
Right.
because the big issue I've been seeing, and I'm not going to list out any names, but it's happened to me and it's happened to a couple other people I know, is
Right.
that they'll worry about someone so much that it basically ruins themselves in a way. They don't take time to take care of themselves,
Yeah.
And that's the cardinal mistake that people make today. It's they take care of people more than they would take care of themselves. And I think a relationship is no different in that
I agree.
sense.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and it's it's good that people are going out and spending time and all that, but it shouldn't necessarily dictate your entire life,
Right.
Like talking to you right now. I mean, there's gonna be days where you're gonna want to be by yourself, or you're gonna want to be with your mom, or your dad, or both of them, and all that. It's just you gotta make. It's a balance, basically, and I feel like a lot of these people in these relationships that go bad don't understand, balance.
Right.
You don't want to be with them for too long, but at the same time, you don't want to stay away from them for too long either. And I've seen both ends. It's bad, you know.
Yeah, it is. And then it's also it's all about communication. If you don't have communication with somebody, it just won't work out.
And on top of that, if you don't know how to have a conversation and be honest about certain things, you know, that just basically just adds fuel to a fire.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
And I don't know. It's just, I think a lot of these people that are single now, the reason they are is because of skepticism. They're skeptical about it because of what they've seen in what their friends or their family have done, you know, where it's just led to a bad result. And I feel like...
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think a person should stoop so low as to date, like, a person they know is a thug. You know, I just don't believe that.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. The main ones who chasing after the thugs or these females who don't have any common sense, you know, they want a dude with tattoos all over his body, who been in and out of prison, you know, who sell drugs and do drugs. You know, basically the dope boys.
Yeah.
The type dudes that most of these women like, which I never really understood why they like those type of guys.
Yeah. Now to my story in terms of that. I had a friend of mine in high school. I'm no longer friends with this woman, but she was all over the place, you know. Sometimes she would be happy as a clam, but sometimes she would just be like mad at the whole world, you know, sad to the point where she's cutting her wrist, basically, right?
Wow.
And she would do like these things to like get attention and all that, like cutting her wrist, talking about suicide, you know. I think even in one of the texts. Are you familiar with Linkin Park?
No.
Like, are you familiar with Chester Bennington?
No.
The guy that wound up committing suicide that was in Linkin Park?
No, I haven't heard about that.
Well, one of the texts this woman sent me was basically how she feels like Chester Bennington after I'm like, it's not the same thing, you know? It's just not. Well, the reason I'm no longer friends with this woman is because she has this ex who I'm friends with, too. I subscribe to his channel. He does, like, Naruto and stuff. Really cool guy. She dated this dude in Florida, and she mentally abused this guy to the point where he forced her to move back up here to Cincinnati. And she kept, like, instigating these fights with him and trying to get her friends like me to try to take her side and all that.
Wow.
Well, I didn't know this at the time until one of these days I like told her to block him off her phone. And sure enough, 3 days later, he's still texting him. I'm like, wait a minute. This guy, you just blocked this dude's number. How is he still contacting you? And that's when I realized it's like, oh, she didn't block him. She's just starting stuff to try to get this man in trouble.
Right.
And the reason I'm telling this story now, while we're talking about relationships, is because a couple months after I broke off my friendship, she started dating a guy that I had video tech class with, right?
Right.
The problem with this guy is that when he got out of high school, like 2 years before me, he was engaged to this woman and had a kid with him. Had a kid with this woman and wound up raping her.
Wow.
So, in a sense, this woman is now dating a well-known rapist. It's like...
Wow. That's sad.
It's like, now you got shit and shit coupled together now. It's like...
Right.
Once I heard that, I just, like, mind blown. I'm like, oh my god, why? But,
yeah,
like, that's what crazy people do when it comes to relationships. They want someone that is basically bad to fill their own interests. And what happens at that point?
Right.
You know,
it's a lot of women out here who hate guys like that.
You know, it's sad. You know, it's just
it is.
It's like it's one of those things where it's just hard to watch these people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's sad and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's not like, you know, everybody's out to get them and everybody like hates them and all. It's like, you know, we know you're crazy, but at the same time we feel kind of bad because, you know, that's the destiny you've chosen for yourself. And you yourself put yourself in that position and didn't want to admit it because you blamed everybody else.
Right.
And that's... Yeah. It's just... I can't even speak, you know? It just...
Yeah.
Like I said, it gets hard to watch.
Oh, yeah, it do.
Mm-hmm. But of course, it's like, here's my final opinion on it before I stop talking. But when it comes to relationships, you have to have a balance, and you have to know what position you are in your life in order to move forward, you know?
Right.
Because,
you do.
A lot of these people, they get out of high school these days, and they're now, like, dating this guy, and this guy's getting them pregnant, and it's like, you know, the way I see it, the way I was taught, do not have sex until you're married, all right? Because, like Steve Wilkos said, if you don't want to take the responsibility, don't be making babies.
For real, though. But it tells us in the Bible not to have sex until marriage.
I think it's like one of the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not commit adultery, you know?
Yeah.
And,
it is.
You know, people they want to grow up too fast. And it's like, no. Like, Andy, the position we're at in the society, me and you, I guarantee you we are doing much better than the people out there that got pregnant after graduating high school.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee
I didn't have my daughter until I was like 24. A lot of these young girls get pregnant at a young age and don't even finish school. They got to drop out of school just to raise a baby and become single mothers, you know?
Yeah, it just becomes a huge issue after a while, you know, because now you're putting too much stress on yourself and you're asking people for money that you shouldn't be asking for money, you know?
Right.
And
you know,
my message is this to anybody that's listening to this podcast: you know, unless you know what you're doing, don't be having babies until you find that man that you can marry. You know, that's all I gotta say.
I'm gonna say this to the women: put the dick down.
Oh my god!
I just had to put that out there.
Public service announcement from Smokey the Bear.
Right.
Only
also,
you.
for the men, you know, put your dick in your pants as well.
Just have a picture of Smokey the Bear. Only you can prevent pregnancy.
I gotta get on the men too, so you know.
Yeah.
Cause I don't want the women getting pissed.
Because it swings both ways, you know. Because you know, women grow up too fast nowadays, and they just want to, you know, basically accelerate their own life by like 5 or 6 years.
Right.
And then you got the men who, they don't necessarily want to accelerate life per se, but they get attached. And when you get attached in such a way, it's basically just hard to pull out of it without pissing people off.
Right. And then another thing on social media, it do be these girls who be young as hell, but they be looking like they grown.
Exactly.
And like I've seen plenty of females who look young as hell, who claim they adults, but we already know they young. And these be the typical girls who get knocked up and get pregnant by these no life, low type dudes.
Like these rapists, basically.
Yeah,
you know,
basically. And it be old dudes that be like in their 40s and 50s trying to talk to these young girls. Like, what the hell? You an old nigga trying to get some young pussy?
Sugar daddies.
Ain't nothing wrong with that young pussy, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? You know?
Yeah, it's a messed up thing. And at the end of it all, they're just in it for their money, in a sense.
Basically.
It kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the first episode we did with these Instagram influencers. It's just like, you play the facade so bad, but when you finally embrace reality, you're fucked, you know?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, on a lighter topic, we've been playing games for the last few hours up until this podcast. You've been playing, what is it, Resident Evil 3?
Yeah.
I've been playing Crash Bandicoot, trying to get those damn relics. You know, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is.
For the last, 2 weeks, you know, I've been seeing a lot of this gaming stuff, the iRacing and all that. And I've been thinking, you know, why doesn't this country hold a gaming Olympics? Or the entire planet, basically.
Right.
You know, the normal Olympics, they just suck, you know? It's just...
Yeah.
It's not... It's, first off, the Olympics today, they're just not, interesting to watch. And also, hosting it, your town is basically screwed because of all the funding that goes into it, prepping and whatnot. But, you know, I think, personally, I've been thinking about this all week. I think the gaming Olympics would work, in a sense, right?
Right.
Because, first off, it would be laid out perfectly. This is my idea, all right?
Okay.
Each week, gamers would be playing a certain game. So the first week, we could do fighting games. The second week, it would be all about shooting games. You know, third would be the Battle Royale games. You know, just keep going. Fourth week, League of Legends, Dota, whatnot. You just keep going down the categories. You get people from all over the world, basically, whether it be in America, Russia, Germany, China, you know, anywhere, really. Just assemble your teams, have qualifiers, and then go out and compete, basically when the games start.
Right.
And you would do that. You would have, different venues. This is the part that I want to talk about. Venues.
Yeah. And the YouTube ads, too.
Well, yeah, we're gonna get to that. Trust me. We're gonna get to that spicy shit in the meantime.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The problem that the Olympics have right now is that, you know, these cities are building unnecessary venues. Look at Brazil.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, did you see what happened with those stadiums in Brazil that they built for the Olympics?
No, I've seen it.
70%, I think 70% of them are no longer in use, you know?
Yeah.
It's just sad.
So.
But with a gaming tournament, like the gaming Olympics, you don't have to build anything extravagant. You can have if you wanted to have fighting game tournament for the Olympics, you could have it let's say it's in Cincinnati, you could have it in different convention centers all across Cincinnati, basically.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You could have it at the Duke Energy Center. You could have it over at University of Cincinnati. You could have one round at Xavier, you know? There's just so many places you could have, entire gaming events at. And they don't have to necessarily be big. They just have to be able to accommodate. In which gaming events like PAX and E3 and the DICE Awards do amazing jobs when it comes to accommodations.
Oh yeah.
It's even the Overwatch tournaments do a good job of it.
Yeah, they do.
It's just, and also, it would generate a lot of money, not just for sponsors, but for the cities that you're sponsoring and the venues as well. It would just, it would make things easier. So, like I said, you could do it week by week by week. You could have, like, let's say you're doing the fighting games, right? You could have 1 week dedicated to fighting games. The first day could be Mortal Kombat. Second day could be Street Fighter. The third could be King of Fighters. Fourth can be Tekken. And then the fifth, it could be like a variation of games like Blaze Blue, Guilty Gear, and whatnot.
Right.
And you could, and then you could cycle through. And then week 2 would be shooters. The Call of Duty tournaments, the Battlefield tournaments, all that. And then at that point, you could just basically have a week dedicated to like the finals of all those games and have it in like this big venue with like a big setup and whatnot.
Right.
It wouldn't really cost you anything. We've gotten to the point, Andy, where gaming, it's slowly like it's been getting to the top of like pop culture, but it's being held back by society itself, because of the way society treats gamers. They think, oh, it's an addiction, it's a disease. It's like, you're not seeing the full picture,
Right. No, you're not.
And these incidents that they bring up, where they talk about addiction and all that, they don't scratch the surface of why that individual might have died in the first place. Oh, they died of addiction. No, they're just a jackass at a fucking internet cafe spending 72 hours on a game that has no impact on their life whatsoever. That's addiction right there.
Yeah, it is.
Like, I could tell you stories of addiction. Ninja playing Fortnite, that's not an addiction. That's a lifestyle.
Yeah, because it's something he'd like to do.
Exactly. And it's something that he, not only does he like to do, Andy, he gets paid to do it,
Yeah, he made millions doing that on Twitch.
Exactly. The same with Tfue, all these people that have played Fortnite and have held tournaments,
Yeah.
But people just don't want to admit that. Hell, have you heard about what South Korea would do? They're planning on doing if they host the Olympics?
Nope.
They're planning on incorporating certain video games into the Olympics, basically.
Good.
The actual Olympics. But it's like, people think, games don't have like a particular set of skills. Yes, they do. There are...
Yeah, they do.
Andy, what were you just playing? Resident Evil 3, right?
Yep.
What did you have to do in Resident Evil 3 in order to succeed?
Shit, run from fucking Nemesis, big ass.
Okay. So you basically had to stay alert the whole time, right? And you had to...
Basically, do survival. It's all about survival when it comes to Resident Evil.
And you had to
survive.
You had to make moves on the fly. Cognitive moves,
Yeah.
You had to recognize weaknesses.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically a specific talent there,
It is.
Like me, when I was doing those time trials on Crash Bandicoot, I had to basically time everything perfect, I had to time dodging a trap specifically, or breaking a box in a specific way, or making a jump in a specific way. Gaming itself, it has these abilities. Like your fighting games, like when you watch, you were just playing Marvel vs. Capcom. Have you seen those people that make those insane combos?
Yeah.
Those chains that last like 70 to 80 hits?
Yeah.
Don't you think that's the kind of talent that certain people wish to have?
Yeah.
The ability to just go hit, 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 jump, hit, 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 basically,
Pretty much.
It's
Pretty
just...
much.
There's a lot that goes into it, and especially in fighting games, most of your fighting games, they have those pads, right? Those arcade pads.
Right.
I have played Tekken 3 on an arcade cabinet, right? That shit, when you're like pressing buttons fast, that puts a huge strain on you.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same with these hyper tappers in Tetris, like that what's it called? Joseph Kid. That Asian kid, Joseph, that just dethroned Jonas. The hyper tapping.
I've seen that.
Yeah, wasn't I the one that showed you that?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's a good concept. It's like, it's helping him in the long run. But the problem is you're pushing those buttons so fast that it's putting strain on you, basically.
Right.
So their gaming does have this huge effect. You know, it's an ability that certain people have, you know?
Right.
To some people, it's no different than throwing a football, throwing a baseball, driving a stock car, you know.
Yep.
I just wish it would get that recognition because of that, but of course, it's the mainstream media. They only want what they see. So, you know what? Let's talk about LeBron James eating a fucking salad. Why not?
Right. And then another thing I hate is when these school shootings or anything happen, they always blame it on the kids, saying, oh, they play too much Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto. Like, it's not the video games that's causing the people to kill out here.
It's how they're interpreting it in terms of how they're going about personal life. It happened with Columbine. You know, they saw that the kids were good at making those Doom levels, and they were like, oh, gaming is the cause of this. It's like, no. They were bullied in school, and they took their anger out on a game up to the point where they took it out on those jocks and killed themselves afterwards. You know?
Right.
They were troubled kids.
We play GTA and all of these other, you know, shooting games. You don't see us going out here shooting up every damn body.
Exactly. Unless, of course, we're someone that's mentally troubled, you know?
Right.
But we're not. We're just normal people that have YouTube channels.
Right, pretty much.
I mean,
I don't have no reason to go out here and shoot anybody. Unless I feel like my life is being threatened, then shit,
all bets are off.
We can get the clicking and clacking. We can get the clicking and clacking and banging.
Yep, all bets are off.
Gonna start hanging.
And, you know,
I'm just saying.
Well, it's, you know, moments like that, like, gaming has done so much for these, you know, people like Ninja, Tfue, Banks, you know, all these YouTubers.
And that's another thing. Let me bring up Ninja. Ninja been playing Fortnite since day one. I have not seen him come out of nowhere threatening to shoot up anybody.
Exactly. Even that video that he did when he was playing PUBG and he was mocking that little kid, it's like, he didn't want to hurt the little kid. The little kid was being a little bastard. He put him in his place. Right. You know? It's just...
Right.
There is a lot... Like, this is what many people don't realize. Like, the way the Olympics... Back on topic. The way the normal Olympics now, it's ruining cities. It's doing all that. Gaming, in a sense, has helped people a lot. It's helped these YouTubers. It's helped these communities and all that. And I think it would just be good to put it on a grand stage so that way it could help, you know, these cities and these countries and these, you know, console makers and these sponsors, you know. It would be a huge event. It could even help YouTube and Twitch to some extent.
Yeah, it can.
It would be no different than the Ninja Warrior, you know. You got all these people coming together to complete this obstacle course. You know, they got their own stories. It's the same thing with these gamers. Like, they have their own stories of how they got to be like YouTubers, like Ninja, like Banks, and you know, it would just be good to put that on a grand stage, and that's why I think we should have the gaming Olympics. It's good that we have PAX, E3, and all these other events, BlizzCon, but those don't never benefit anything to the cities that they're hosting them in.
Right.
It only benefits the sponsors, and that's why I think we should have a gaming Olympics so that way it could benefit the economy much better. I'm done.
Exactly. And let me bring up one more thing. When it comes to video games, it takes a skill in certain video games. Not everybody can play certain video. Like, I'm not a good Call of Duty player. I'm not good at NBA 2K. I'm not good at Madden. but I still play those games because they entertain me.
Mm-hmm.
The only game I can say that I'm possibly good at is something like wrestling or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, or like Pac-Man or something. Something simple, simple game that's easy to play,
Yeah, when it comes to, like, there's only one game I've really wanted to do tournament play for, and that's the King of Fighters games. I wouldn't want to do it in Mortal Kombat because, like, I play Mortal Kombat for fun,
Right.
Like, King of Fighters, though, that's, like, the only time you'll ever see me get truly competitive, because that game, if it wasn't for Mortal Kombat, that game would be my favorite. But there are games,
right.
like you said, that I truly suck at, basically.
Right.
The Battle Royale games, Fortnite, Apex Legends, and all that. And there are games that I'm decent at, like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Ace Combat. And then there are the games that I truly excel at. Mortal Kombat, Grand Theft Auto, King of Fighters, Tekken, and all that. That's why I'm saying that this Olympics would be good, because it would bring all those ideologies together in one place, and it would impact the world, basically, better than what we have right now.
Right, and what made Ninja good was he had a good skill with Fortnite. Not a lot of people can get to his level on Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless you on it 24/7 and you barely lose, that's the only way. But I don't see nobody beating Ninja.
Yeah, and to hone in on that, let's say there's 10,000 people in the world that play Fortnite 24/7, like you said. How many of those people can you say can beat Ninja in a 1v1?
It'll be luck if they can. That's all I'm gonna say.
I would tell you probably 10, 20. It would be, the highest it would be was 30, but then again, 20 of those people would have been lucky. But
the
10 people, it would be people like Tfue. It would be like that, that 14-year-old kid that's on the Rage right now that's really good at it. You know? People like that.
Yeah.
That's why we need to have these Olympics, so we can bring them all together and just create this huge mega event that's going to benefit everybody, rather than bring down someone's pride,
Right.